Pastor Roy Gearhart from Galloway United Methodist Church in Franklin, Pennsylvania, sharing a few words of encouragement to help us follow after Jesus. I want to share with you a comparison between two widows in the Bible who are both living in fear of judgment from God, and yet both have a hope that God blesses and fulfills. There's a widow that lives in Zarephath. This is in the territory of Sidon, outside of Israel. It happens to also be the homeland of Queen Jezebel, who brings to Israel the worship of Baal with a huge push to replace the worship of the Lord with the worship of Baal and Asherah. But God sent his prophet during a time of judgment and drought in Israel to Jezebel's homeland, where there a widow will take care of him. God blesses this widow and Elijah by making sure that the meager source of food that the widow possessed would never run out. Without being added to, it would just simply continue to produce food and life for them. But then one day that widow's son died, and she was so in fear of God's judgment that immediately she faced Elijah the prophet and said, "Well, man of God, have you just come here to throw my sin in my face, to condemn me and kill my son?" You see how quickly she leapt to that conclusion, that a God who was blessing her and caring for her as she was feeding this prophet suddenly is fearful that all of these problems coming into her life were the judgment of God. There's a widow in the New Testament that Jesus met. She was in the region of Samaria. That's the same region that King Ahab and Jezebel ruled over and brought all of this corruption to. But Jesus sat down at a well in Samaria one day, and a woman came by, and just like Elijah, who had asked the widow for a drink, Jesus asked her for a drink. And as they had their conversation, she was a bit leery of Jesus, obviously at first. And then Jesus revealed that he knew, without anyone telling him, that she had been married 5 times over and was now living with a man she was not married to. Now, let me tell you what I thought for years. One is this woman who was out at the well in the middle of the day all by herself was not following the usual pattern of women gathering water, who would go out morning and night in the cool parts of the day, and who would do it together so they could help each other and get together socially. This woman was avoiding all of that. And many commentators would say that's because of her life, her background. All of this left her in fear of judgment. And she had been pushed out of many social circles, no doubt because of her life story. But when Jesus revealed this to her, he was not doing it to judge her, though I confess, for years, I thought that's what this was all about. I thought Jesus, in fact, was giving her a gotcha, pushing back at her after she had been kind of snarky with him. And when she had spoken to him in a disrespectful manner, I thought, yeah, there you go. Let me tell you what I know about you. One night it finally hit me that I was projecting something from my own heart onto her and onto Jesus, because I finally realized Jesus wasn't doing that. He wasn't there to judge her any more than Elijah had gone to Zarephath to bring down judgment on that widow. No, Jesus was there to open her eyes to his love, his mercy, God's deliverance that was there for her. And you know, with both of these women, there's a little kernel of faith that clearly is there. A little kernel of faith in that widow in the Old Testament at Zarephath to listen to Elijah when he said, "Trust God, he's going to supply your needs." And she believed him and acted on that in faith. This woman who talked to Jesus in Samaria, who said to him at long last, "I believe that when Messiah comes, he's going to explain everything to us." And Jesus so graciously revealed to her, "I'm the one that you're waiting for." And that woman ran into town to tell people, "You've got to come out here and meet this man who told me everything I'd ever done." This was no act of cruelty in judgment. This was an act of mercy and grace. In both cases, these women discover this little kernel of faith that they carried in their heart could blossom, that they could open up their lives to God, and God would deliver them, save them, bless them, and fulfill their lives with all of their heart's deepest longing for Him fulfilled. May God bless you today. And as you share His good news, may God make you a blessing wherever He takes you.